Good evening. Thank you for being with us, folks. We're going to start the evening off by making sure that our neighbors who are Spanish speaking can join um, the forum today through our simultaneous interpretation in Spanish. Can you share that number on screen, Stacy, or put it in the private chat? There we go. So give me a second while I welcome our Spanish speaking neighbors and then we'll get going. Buenas tardes. Si quieren acceso al foro hoy en español, por favor, marquen el número que aparece en la pantalla, que es 646-749-3122. Cuando le contestan su llamada, compartan el código que también aparece en la pantalla, que es 779-328-221, y también vamos a poner ese número en los comentarios para ustedes tener acceso. Thank you for being patient as I make sure everyone can have access to the program. My name is Tammy Rivera, and I am the Executive Director and the lead organizer for Southside Organizing Center. And today I am your co-host along with one of our youth organizers. So I'm going to ask him to introduce himself.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Juan, and I'm a youth organizer with the Southside Organizing Center, and I've been with SOC for about 2.5 years.
These are the programs I like the most when we are able to share the things we do, being with you, and our youth are at the forefront. So first of all, I want to welcome the residents of the South Side and our other guests. It's an honor to serve you. We're very happy that we can do that. And then I just want to give you a heads up that we need your support and patience. There are some limits to the software that we're using, so we can't have everyone on the screen at the same time. And we have some new team members working to make this happen. And so we're all going to do our best, and we ask that we have your support. I want to give some thank yous, though, to the team that put together the forum. I want to thank Anna for coordinating, Edith for putting the flyer edits together for the event, Stacy, and shout out to Stacy. This is her first time producing. Jeanette and Jinx for preparing the youth. And then you'll see Juan on screen and sometimes Isaiah, who's our timekeeper. But there's all the youth are involved. We also are having them put comments and communicate with you live. And although she's not a formal part of our staff team, she's been a faithful soldier with us throughout the entire pandemic, even before doing interpretation, is Miranda. So just want to thank you all, the team, for making sure our residents have this opportunity. Juan, will you introduce the event for folks?
Mhm. So today we will be doing SOC's candidate forum for County Supervisor District 12.
Great. So the purpose of the forum is to make sure that our residents, our neighbors, have an opportunity to vet the candidates in preparation for the spring election, the primary that's happening on the 15th, and then the election. And so I'm going to go over the program with you, and then Juan will share with you who the candidates are that are here with us today. After after this welcome, we will bring on the Deputy Director of the City of Milwaukee Election Commission to share some information that will be important for voters and reminders. And then the candidates are going to have a short, brief time to do some opening remarks for you to get to know them. And then we're going to go through a round of 4 questions. Now, there are so many questions people want to ask, but time is limited. There are 4 candidates. So we're going to ask 4 questions. Each candidate has 2 minutes to respond. So that's 8 minutes per question. So about half an hour of questioning. Then the candidates are going to have a little bit of time to have some closing remarks. After that, if we have any time, we'll ask some additional questions. Um, we're not very hopeful about that, but we have a plan B in case we do. And then we'll close out with some thank yous and announcements. And so that's the program for now. So, we ask residents ahead of time to submit candidates, and those residents' neighbors have to live in District 12 for us to accept those questions. And then we review them for themes. We also looked at the last candidates forum that we held for this role, and created the four questions that we have with us today. So now we're going to have Juan share the names of the candidates who are going to be with us this evening.
Today's confirmed candidates are Rosie King, Juan Miguel Martinez, Christian Saldívar and Josh Zepnik.
Thank you, Juan. So here are the ground rules. It's a virtual event. So if anything needs adjusting, we're going to do our best. It's really important to organizers that things are equitable. So respecting time is of prime value to us today. So folks, when they have time limits, those are hard stops. And what'll happen is when time is up, when someone is up to speak, they'll appear for you on the screen. And when their time is up, they'll go backstage and the next candidate will come up. So it will be, trying to be very equitable and keep you informed of what's happening. And then Juan, will you share the announcement about our survey and door prize?
Yep. There is a $50 door prize for one County Supervisor District 12 resident who fills out the survey. The person selected from entries will be chosen tomorrow, Thursday, February 10th, live on Facebook. So please like our Facebook page.
Great. Thank you, Juan. Now I'd like to welcome on Jonatan Zuniga. He's the Deputy Director of the City of Milwaukee Election Commission. While he comes on, hola, Jonatan.
Hi there. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, let me say a couple of things about Jonatan before he's in his former role. So I met Jonatan when I joined SOC, but he had been involved with SOC for quite a while as part, he was a youth then, as part of the immigration reform and driver's license campaign that SOC was doing. And then he helped us out for a couple of weeks on staff, actually, and before he went to a community organization, and now he's at the Election Commission as Deputy Director. So, Jonatan, welcome.
Thank you, Tammy, and hello, everyone who is seeing us today. I'm really happy to be here to share more information about voting this upcoming February 15th.
Yeah, and we have, if I'm correct, about 5 minutes, not a lot of time, but there's some important things people have to know. So we'll go ahead and let Jonatan give us all of those updates.
Sounds good. So the first thing that I want to let everyone know is that they can actually vote now at an early voting site. So if tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, they can go to an early voting site and vote as part of in-person absentee. So if you already know you're out there and you know that you're not available on election day, people have jobs, 2 jobs, sometimes 3. So take advantage of the early voting locations. On the south side, we have Zablocki Library that's open tomorrow from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then Friday and Saturday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then we also have Tippecanoe Library and Bayview Library open from noon to 5, Thursday through Saturday. Okay, if there's more locations around the city, so if you guys want to look at the full list and schedule, go to milwaukee.gov/election. Okay, so you can vote this week if you already know you can't be there on election day. The second thing I want to let everyone know is that the absentee ballot draw boxes are open for this election. Okay, there's a lot of things messaging in the news, whether they're closed or open. They are open for this spring primary. Okay, so if any of you requested a ballot, you have it at home, you're gonna complete it, you're gonna complete your envelope, and the fastest most secure and easiest way to do it is to drop it off at an absentee ballot drop box. There's one located at every Milwaukee public library in the city of Milwaukee. Okay, so just go to your local public library and drop it off. They are open 24/7 and until 5 p.m. on election day. Okay. The third thing is that if you already know you're going to go vote on election day to your polling site, that's awesome. We have 180 polling sites citywide, your neighborhood based polling site. But due to redistricting, you may have now a new voting ward, and a new polling location. Okay, so every 10 years, the city goes through a redistricting process. So every household got a postcard last week notifying them of your new ward and polling location. But if you lost that, that's okay. You can go to myvote.gov/election and you can search up with your address what's your new polling place. So I really want to make sure that everyone here goes and verifies their polling site to make sure that they go to the correct one on election day.
Will you say that site again so we can put it in the comments, Jonatan?
Yep, milwaukee.gov/election. Okay, so I know we have 5 minutes. So those are the three things that I really want to hit on. The website, and then I'm going to provide a number too, if you can put it in the comments, 414-286-3491. That's our office phone number. If you need assistance in Spanish, we have bilingual staff who can help you as well. Same thing on election day. If you show up at a polling site and you or you know someone who needs assistance in Spanish, there should be someone who can help you there who speaks bilingual, or we can always translate through the phone as well.
Share that number one more time just to make sure folks have it.
414-286-3491.
3491.
That's right.
Jonatan, until what day is early voting? What's the last day they could do early voting?
Saturday. This Saturday is the last.
¿A qué hora? What time?
So at Zablocki, it will be both at Zablocki, Bayview, and Tippecanoe, 5 p.m.
Okay. And also, can we tell folks, we have a couple of minutes here, what will they need to bring with them to take to the polling site to vote? What will they have to show? What will they have to bring?
Sure. If they're already registered to vote, whether they go to an early voting site or their polling site on election day, they have to take a acceptable form of ID. So that could be a Wisconsin driver's license, a Wisconsin ID, it could be a passport, it could be a college student ID, it can be a military ID, a VA ID, a tribe ID, a full list. You can go to the same website and find a full list. But the key thing to remind people is that if you already registered to vote, that ID doesn't have to have your current address. That's a very common misconception about that. I have my Wisconsin driver's license. It has my old address. That's still acceptable for photo ID because when I registered, I already provided another proof of residence document. So again, you can use that ID even if it doesn't have the current address if you already are a registered voter.
And if someone didn't register, tell people how they can still vote and register.
Yes, you can still register on election day or at an early voting site. So again, with state law, it's not easy to really understand when it comes to voting. But at an early voting site, you have until Friday to register to vote. So even though you can vote on Saturday, you have until Friday to register to vote. Okay. But if you miss the deadline, that's okay. You have Tuesday on election day. Go to your polling site and you can register there.
And what will they need to bring?
A proof of residence document and a photo ID. So that proof of residence document can be a utility bill, a bank statement. If you have your driver's license or ID with a current address, you can use that. It could be a lease, right? And an important thing to remind folks is that you can show an electronic version of that document. So I have my app, my bank app. I can download my bank statement on my phone and show that to the election inspector.
That's excellent information.
Right? So, yeah, that's really important, so that you make sure that to take that and be ready to register and vote on election day.
Wonderful. Thank you. And we're right on time, Jonatan. We appreciate
Perfect.
your presence and the information.
Great.
All right, we're going to start into our next section, and Juan's going to come on and introduce the first part of our time with our candidates.
Yep. We will now start our candidate opening introduction. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for their introduction. We will start with Christian Saldivar Frias.
Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me? Hello, can everyone hear me? Okay. My name is Christian Saldivar. I'm a lifelong member of resident of Milwaukee. My parents came over in the 80s, and I became citizens in the late 80s. I am a product of Milwaukee. I was born and raised here, educated here. I have a deep passion for serving people and understanding where we are as a community and where we can go moving forward. I'm passionate about just public health initiatives and public safety for people. How can we provide mental health and behavioral health support in our communities to make people more successful and to progress and to empower people. My background in education, mental health through Milwaukee's wraparound program, and an administrator at public and private schools, I think has prepared me to take on this challenge as your next county board supervisor, District 12. Very nice to meet all of you.
Yep. Next, we will have Josh Zepnik.
Okay, can you hear me? Great. I'm Josh Zepnik. Thank you for organizing this activity, SOC, and to all the other people that were that have connected to listen and watch this evening. I have been a longtime resident of the south side of Milwaukee and District 12, and for 16 years represented a large portion of District 12 as a member of the Wisconsin legislature. I have developed in a large number of contacts and people and places who I have worked with on various projects in our community. It's something I'm very passionate about. So when the county did its redistricting, District 12 is no longer looks anything like what District 12 used to look like. That's been totally renumbered and is to our east. This is a configuration of, I think, about 3 or 4 different former county board seats. So it's an interesting opportunity and something where we had no incumbent running for reelection, and I decided it would be a useful thing to throw my name in the ring like other people have, so that we have choices, and I can offer my longtime experience as a public servant and someone who knows how to get things done inside government to make our district and our neighborhoods even stronger and better than they already are. So I appreciate being with you, and I look forward to the questions.
Thank you. Next, we will have Juan Miguel Martinez.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. My name is Juan Miguel Martinez. I'm the proud son of Mexican immigrants who came to this country in the 1970s, seeking a better life for themselves. I was born and raised here in Milwaukee. I grew up on the north and the south side of Milwaukee, and I've called this community in the 12th district my home for the past 13 years. Although I don't have much political background and experience, I've been working since I was 14 years old in a variety of jobs. I'm running for this position because I'm inspired by people like my dad who came here in 1973. He's about to retire without a pension. Been working in a foundry since he was 1973. My mother was the first Latina business owner in Milwaukee, opening Diva's Hair Design on the corner of 14th and Lincoln. It's no longer hers, but it still remains a hair salon. I fight for them and countless others like them who are facing kind of a bleak economic future without economic security, despite working their entire lives supporting our communities. My dad and people like my parents and other immigrant workers are integral to the American workforce. However, I don't believe a worker's worth should be based on what they can give the economy. We must do a better job supporting those in our community when they retire. Every voice deserves to be heard, and every person should be able to contribute to moving the 12th district forward. My current day job is as a union organizer, and I have years of experience working on campaigns such as Fight for 15, Justice for Janitors, and the UW Nurses campaign in Madison. As a successful union organizer, I've crafted the art of listening and being responsive to people's needs and concerns. I know how to bridge divides and focus on common sense solutions, and I know what it's like to be the underdog, fighting for what's fair and just. And more importantly, I know how to win those fights by speaking truth to power, not backing down and standing up for what's right. It's very important to me that everybody in the 12th has a voice and their collective voice is heard.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we will have Rosie King.
Hello, everybody. Hope you all can hear me clearly. My name is Rosie King. I am a wife, a mom, grandmother. I've pastored in the city of Milwaukee for the last 27 years. I was a choice school consultant for 11 years. I've been in management, and I've been a public servant for the last 49 years. So I've been pastoring for 27, but I've been in the city of Milwaukee for 49 years. And I work with all kinds of people groups. I've actually ministered in prisons. And I'm in this race because I want to see change. I believe that government is overreaching, and I believe that the people need to be heard. And I believe in we the people. I stand for the Constitution. I want to be a connector of people. I want to see things change. And one of my major reasons for running is I want to see a safer Milwaukee. That's at the top of my list. I want to see a safer Milwaukee. I want to be able to see businesses come into the city of Milwaukee. I want to see business invest in Milwaukee. I want to really see the infrastructure of Milwaukee changed and for the better. And I want to see Milwaukee County as a business-friendly place. So I'm in the race because I want to see change. I live on the south side of Milwaukee. I live in the district, and I just want to see things, change for the better. And that's why I'm in this race. I've not ran for any office before, but I just see that things need to be different, and the voice of the people need to be heard. And I will be one of those people that actually listen to the voice of the people and represent them rather than my own agenda. That's why I'm in the race. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to start now our rounds of questions. So I'll announce the question, and then I'll talk about what order the candidates are going to answer, because we're going to rotate that order so that it's fair to everyone. Everyone gets a chance to answer first. So question number 1 has to do with COVID. The order that we're going to take responses is Zepnik, Martinez, King, and then Saldivar Frias. So again, Zepnik, Martinez, King, Saldivar Frias. And what you're going to see is then the next person gets up in the queue and the rotation continues. Here goes the question. What more could the county do to respond to the COVID pandemic? And we're starting with Zepnik.
Well, I think that's an interesting question. I actually have had some direct experience in this area as one of the projects I worked on in the last year or two. I was an independent contractor with the City of Milwaukee's Health Department working on COVID-19 response. And I think that what we've seen happen here locally as well as around the country is that the extreme uncertainty that around COVID-19 and our sort of lack of preparation for it has shown that we have a lot of work to do when it comes to our public health agencies, so that we can better respond and get things done more quickly. I actually think that now, Milwaukee County doesn't have its own health department. So if you're a resident of the 12th district, which is in the city of Milwaukee, you would be relying on the city of Milwaukee's health department. And the county provides a supporting function because the county has the Office of Emergency Management and has staff that was helping to get the word out to people. I found in my own direct job experience that simply connecting with people to reassure them that they're doing the right things to prevent catching COVID or spreading it to somebody else was the key piece of our success. And when people didn't follow that protocol, where we had a difficult time containing things. I'm glad to hear the numbers are going down in transmission, and I pray for all those who have been very sick or who have died because of it. This has been an enormous, unexpected challenge, and I hope we learn from it to prepare for future public health emergencies.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Mr. Martinez.
Thank you very much. The issue of COVID definitely circles back to workers' rights issues, quite point blank period. The zip code that the 12th district is in has 53215 and 53204. And those two were the most affected zip codes for COVID during its tenure, or while it was going on. The simple fact of the matter is the reason that so many people were being infected in our district, it doesn't have anything to do with numbers saying that it was mostly people of color, right, that were affected by it. And it's not because they're people of color. It's because we in this district had to keep going to work as essential workers, and we had to keep being exposed to COVID on a regular basis. I was when I organized the Justice for Janitors campaign this past summer, 3 janitors had passed away from COVID because they had to keep going to work. Another thing is a lot of the deaths are mostly senior citizens. Everybody addresses the misogyny and the racism and xenophobia that happens a lot in the country, but nobody addresses the ageism. Ageism is something where senior citizens are kind of being swept to the side during the pandemic. It's been a really rough time for them, and there's got to be a way that we are able to protect the most at risk, and protecting the most at risk is what's going to make the numbers go down, so everybody else can get back to normal, and senior citizens are able to lead or find a way for them to stay at home. Mask mandates, vaccine mandates. I mean, those things are going to happen. I mean, I think like city employees should be vaccinated. There should be mask mandates, but in the end, vaccine mandates aren't going to like really push anybody. It really is your decision as a person, right? But when you're in the city and when you're like in public spaces, buses, things like that, I feel like masks do have to continue. And more important, and that's what's most important.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Ms. King.
Okay. The question is, what could the county have done differently in response to COVID?
What more could the county do to respond to the COVID?
What can the county do now? So you're asking.
What more? Yeah.
What more can the county do now to respond to COVID? Me personally, I don't really believe that it's the county's responsibility to do more than what the county has already done. I believe that we as individuals have to take the responsibility of our health and our doctors that we see on a regular basis. We have to also understand that COVID is a real challenge as a county. And when the word goes out of what's going on, and I don't totally agree with all of the news media and what they're saying in reference to the numbers. I don't think that though the county could have done anything more to help change the situation or the circumstances that occurred with COVID. I believe that the word was out there in the beginning. Really, people didn't know what COVID was, what it was really all about. And so the time that we were in and we were down for those 2 weeks initially, we didn't understand anything. But as time went on, we did see and understand that COVID was and is still a real issue. I don't believe in the mandates. I believe this is America. And Americans should be able to make choices and decisions as to whether or not they get vaccinated or not get vaccinated, as to whether they should wear masks or not wear masks. And I would like to see businesses come into the state, in the city, in the county that will not push so much the vaccine, because I don't believe that we know all of the ramifications of the vaccine at this particular point in time. So I believe that the county got the word out and did what the county.
Thank you, Ms. King. Thank you. Next, we'll have Mr. Saldívar Frias.
I think first and foremost, we have to see what our duties as county supervisors are going to be. What departments fall under our jurisdiction, whether that be human resources, the House of Corrections, child support, Milwaukee County Parks, etc. I think as a county, we could always safeguard, right? If it's within our jurisdiction, masks that need to be used at certain times to keep the public safe. I think we get lost and we make it political when at the end of the day, it's something so simple that can go a long way. I've sat on the Governor's Board of Nursing, and also our nurses, right? Our nurses are carrying a huge load on their shoulders. Being aware and cognizant of that and being able to advocate for those people that are at the front lines. I think as a county and as a supervisor, that's something that I would do. I think that they deserve at least that. I think we've all suffered a lot of loss because of COVID, and we can always, I think we're going to learn a lot from it, from what we've seen and what we've experienced. And definitely moving forward, I think we shouldn't politicize healthcare or the way that we take care of ourselves. As a county board supervisor as well, we're in charge of looking after the people that are homeless on the streets and finding a solution for them. As another candidate mentioned, right, the elderly. Those are people that have been kind of put to the side during this whole COVID process. And I think we have to get back to the table and rewrite what is it that we can do for those populations of people that built the community and the society that we have today. Because we wouldn't be who we are today without the older generation. So in terms of as a county, what can we do to continue to work through this, through COVID and the different strains that are coming out? I think we have to be deadlocked and focused on what are the issues that are affecting people the most, and why is that? Is it because of lack of resources or opportunity, especially for young people that aren't able to work or provide for themselves? We have to do better.
Mr. Saldivar. All right, folks, we're going to start our second question, and I just want to give the candidates some support by saying I'm putting the question, the sequence of who answers it, in the private chat, so as a support for you all as well. So we're entering question 2, and the rotation will be Martinez, King, Saldívar Frias, Zepnik. And the question has to do with the parks. It's a multi question. So How will you ensure the future of the parks includes residents' voices? No, how will you, I'm sorry, let me read that. How will you ensure the future of the parks, including residents' voices that are engaged and honored? And then the other part to that question is, do you support the preservation of the Mitchell domes? If so, what would you do to ensure they are preserved? And then if not, why not? And that's a multi-question, so it's in the chat now. So Martinez.
Okay, thank you very much. And so, yeah, ensuring the future of the parks here in the district, we have 4 major parks. It is very important that everybody around that lives in those parks has a say in what gets to be said by way of votes and by way of stewardship. Everybody has to be able to come forth and say what they should want and voice it in a way that they can speak directly to their county supervisor, and they can be addressed as to what is needed and what can be done and what can't be done in regards to green spaces. Green spaces, it has been proven that crime is reduced when green space in green spaces that flourish in parts of the city. Being that it's Mitchell Park, Burnham Park, Clark Square, and Jackson Park, we have 4 very integral green spaces here in the county. Working with the domes not only is it a Milwaukee landmark, it is the only conservatory that we have here in the city. It's very important for me as a county supervisor that I would be in conjunction with the Domes Task Force and the Milwaukee Preservation Alliance to update and modernize the domes, because it is in desperate need of its preservation. It's an investment in our community, which will help not only the district but our county. Green spaces reduce crime. Not only that, once the Domes Task Force and the Milwaukee Preservation Alliance has shown that 300 jobs will be created for the county and for the surrounding communities. So based on that, and it's very important that all these spaces remain public and that everything is able to be still available for residents of the county, and they have a say in what happens. But more importantly than anything, it is very important that we work with the Domes Task Force and the County Preservation and the Milwaukee Preservation Alliance to keep it alive.
Thank you. Now, Ms. King.
Yes. How will I ensure the future of the parks, including the residents' voices? I believe that as a Milwaukee County Supervisor, we have to learn how to connect with the community to find out what their voices are. I definitely support the upkeep of the parks system. Also, I do support the preservation of the domes. I don't support the $64 million project to tear it all down and rebuild it, but I do support, working with redevelopment of the domes as it is for a lesser amount. I think it's like $24 million investment, and I do believe we have, and it's a landmark. I definitely would love to see be in our community and continue into the future. And like Mr. Martinez says, it diverts crime. And so I definitely would be a proponent of the domes facelift, what I call it. The domes getting a facelift, opposed to tearing things down and rebuilding everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Saldivar Frias.
I believe that there's been a lot of good points made. First and foremost, I think though, the domes, we need to save the domes. It's woven into our cultural identity as Milwaukeeans, who we are and who we like. We're warm people deep down inside. I think we have to preserve them, and we have to take steps necessary to conserve them, as well as our parks. We know that the data says that there should be about 900 plus workers working all these county grounds, and we only have about 250 or something like that, some short of 300. So first we have to bolster that, right? We have a huge amount of unemployment and young people in our district, in this area of Milwaukee. Why not use those assets, that human capital, to help people, empower people, to young people especially, to contribute to the culture that is Milwaukee. We're a success story right now. We're the champions. We're the NBA champions. There's so many good things going on. There's so many positive things going on in our city. And I think our parks are a great place, a great gathering place, a place where people go when they don't have so much. I remember growing up, when I was a kid, I went to Jackson Park because we didn't have that much money. So most of the times I had to pick Jackson Park to have my cookout for my birthday party there. So I think we have to invest in that. We have to ask the state to give us more money, because they've shortchanged the county for so many years already. And people say, well, what are you going to do? We're gonna demand our fair share back and also create jobs. And in terms of the domes, I think it's important. Like we got to save them, but we got to bolster them. We lost money over the last 10 years. The domes have lost money and people don't go. They go one time. We have to create different ideas that create an allure, a culture where people would say, you know what? I live on the north side of Milwaukee, but I want to go down to the domes because I want to go and do this or that. I want to go to a festival, concert. So by preserving, but also bolstering that culture, I think it's very important that that we keep our eyes laser focused on empowering and making it the domes. It's spotlighting the domes so that people know it. And
thank you, Mr. Saldivar. Zepnik, Mr. Zepnik.
Yeah, we were just talking about COVID, and tonight we're doing this this meeting through the internet. And I'll be honest with you, I've done a lot of this kind of internet-based meetings and interaction because of COVID, and it's not my first choice or preference. And when it comes to working with constituents and listening to people's voices in the neighborhoods, I'm much more accustomed to having people being able to meet in person, and I'm hoping that soon will return once we get things back on track and it's safe from a healthcare standpoint for gatherings like that. I did that as a state legislator on a regular basis, holding neighborhood listening sessions and community get-togethers, and that to me is a key part of how you get feedback and interaction on something like the issue we're talking about now, which is the park system, which has been vastly underfunded. We have hundreds of millions of dollars in deferred maintenance that has built up that we need to find money for. I'm personally in favor of having the option to go to referendum on a 1 cent sales tax that would help provide some money for parks, as well as property tax relief and public safety, which are also very, very important priorities. When it comes to the Mitchell Park domes, when I was in the legislature, I did participate in a number of the task force meetings that were held at the Mitchell Park domes. It was a very informative process, and their work has concluded, and now we need to make some tough decisions. I'm willing to look at anything from repair, rebuild, remodel, rehabilitate. Ideally, we keep things as close as possible to what it looks like now. I think it needs to be, safer and.
Thank you. We're going to start our third question. The rotation sequence will be Ms. King, Mr. Saldivar Frias, Mr. Zepnik, Mr. Martinez. This question has to do with law enforcement reform. The question is multi as well. And I want to remind you that if you click on private chat in the software that we're using, you'll be able to see what I'm sharing. That's for the candidates. It's an internal. That's not for our guests watching the forum. How will you ensure the sheriff's department and the jail are keeping the community safe and also treating prisoners humanly, with dignity? And what would you do to address the reckless driving that we're experiencing now? And so, Ms. King.
So I'm trying to get into the chat because I haven't been able to get into that. So can you repeat the question once more? I'm sorry.
Absolutely. No apologies needed. how will you ensure the Sheriff's Department and the jail are keeping the community safe and treating prisoners humanly with dignity? And then the second part to the question is, what would you do to address the reckless driving situation we have?
Okay. How would we as a county board keep the
residents safe while treating prisoners, with humanly and with dignity?
I believe that we should be the Sheriff's Department and those people that work with individuals that have committed crimes. Everybody deserves to be treated humanely, and so with that being said, we need to keep the criminals safe, but we also need the Sheriff's Department to be safe. I believe that there's a huge disconnect, and we have to begin to understand that those that serve in that capacity have to develop relationships. I go back to the community in which we serve. And I believe that the reason why there's such a huge issue and a huge problem is because the people that serve in the different communities, especially the Sheriff Department, Police Department, what have you, there's a total disconnect. I think that we have to begin to get back to the basics where individuals will go into the community and make known who they are, and that the people that's in the community will get to know who they are. And I believe that the relationships is what makes a community safer. And how do we address the reckless driving? That goes back to family. We have to begin to require or have families to be more responsible for their children.
Thank you, Ms. King.
Oh my goodness, not enough time.
Mr. Saldivar Frias.
My background in restorative justice, working at behavioral reassignment schools, working as a dean of students at St. Anthony's School, Milwaukee, with different populations. I think first and foremost, we have to reform the way we think about how we serve. Soft skills and social skill development is vital, I think, in our police department, and really letting people know, hey, there's some things that need to be addressed by police, and there's other things that should be left to mental health professionals. And working in my background as a crisis stabilizer in Milwaukee County, those are things that I'm always cognizant of, thinking about how can we make the systems that exist better? How do we get old notions of thinking and new notions of thinking? How do we build common ground between the two? I think what we have right now is a nasty culture of how we feel about our policing and what we're getting back from our policing. I think it's important to reevaluate what is it that we are getting. What is our return on investment? And are we the ones being served, or sometimes does it feel like we're the ones being targeted by the people that are taking our tax dollars to serve us? So I think it's really just about talking it out and letting people know, hey, you know what? I don't like to be treated and I don't like to be directed by police in this manner. So I know Arnell Lucas is somebody that is running for mayor, and he mentions that all the time as being a victim of police brutality. Really just speaking that to power, right? It's the truth to power. Like you can't take advantage of that, because as society and as citizens, we're giving you this power. How are you wielding that power? Because with great power comes great responsibility. So really reminding them about that, and being open to growth, to change. I think sometimes we have a hard time with change. But when it comes to policies and politics and all these things that we're trying to do to change, we should always be thinking in a positive light of how is this going to serve us today, but also how is it going to serve generations to come? The relationships that they have with officers and how officers interact with them. Yeah, that's in a nutshell what I would do.
Thank you. Mr. Zepnik.
Well, I think when you're talking about law enforcement officers, whether it's on the streets or in the prisons or corrections facilities themselves, we have to expect the utmost in their behavior towards others, humanely, with dignity, with respect, and with an understanding of how to do conflict resolution without things getting out of control. It's particularly important from my standpoint because you have a number of people who get involved in some wrongdoing, who also are suffering from some sort of mental health issues or those kinds of problems, and they need to be treated in a fair and responsible way. The fact of the matter is that we have cut the sheriff's department. We have cut personnel. They are understaffed and they are stretched thin. And that explains one of the reasons why they rack up overtime, which gets to be very expensive and cuts into the budget. And it stretches people thin when they're on the job. And I don't think that's healthy for anybody. And so, when it comes to reckless driving, we have an epidemic in Milwaukee, and just about everybody is talking about it in the neighborhoods that I'm visiting. All the mayoral candidates have made it a top priority in their campaigns. We're going to need more officers and more squad cars to help with the crackdown on traffic enforcement. I think that the county is positioned well because of it running the sheriff's department to provide more resources to the local police departments that are on the streets trying to deal with this. We can provide funding and we can do targeted enforcement. And then I'm running out of time.
Thank you. Mr. Martinez.
Thank you very much. This really boils down to an accountability issue, not a budget issue, I feel, because what needs to happen in the county jail is that sheriffs need to be held accountable for what is happening regarding the multiple suicides and deaths and the massive COVID outbreak. We need more oversight of it. We need the sheriff's department to allow us as supervisors access to the cells. We need to be able to visit the jail in limited circumstances and allow us to be able to see the cells. I mean, recently there was something that passed, but it's going to take, it was resolution 21-763 that recently passed, and it's going to be integrated, I think, somewhere closer to 2024, 25, something like that. I'm not sure what it was the exact time, but it was the pathway to free calling for prisoners, because quite frankly, they're still human and they still need to have the ability to communicate with their loved ones, and that's through free calling. So accountability on the sheriff's department is definitely what's needed, and access for us, the supervisors, to be able to get there and for them to be able to address the deaths and everything, and the suicides and the COVID outbreak. Now, we're going to talk about reckless driving. Now, reckless driving is really happening a lot with young people. So what's going on with a lot of young people that are doing the reckless driving? It's investing in the county's credible messenger program. It takes kids who are at risk of offending and reoffending and pairing them with mentors who have been through this already, and it's been proven to be incredibly effective at preventing crime. Last I checked, it had a 40-person waiting list, and it got a small increase, and it was aimed to allocate another $700,000 to $1.5 million. So investing in the youth and investing in speaking with these kids is what's going to prevent it at the roots.
Thank you. All right, folks, before we start the next question, what I would like to do is ask those of you who are viewing the forum. We can see what number of people are viewing, but if you don't comment, we can't see who's with us. I know we have some super fans from our 6 o'clock online with SOC that we did daily for the first year of the forum, then weekly, and now we're doing as we do events. So why don't you drop a line and just say hello, so that you know that so that we know that you're with us. And I'm going to say some hellos to folks who have already said hello. So let me stop here for a second. Betsy Benson, thank you for watching. David D. King, thank you for being with us. Laura Manriquez, thank you for being here. We went to grade school together and lived in the same neighborhood. Love you, sister. Arthur Edmond, thank you for being with us. Let's see here. Just a couple more. Jessica Schmidt, Mark Nevsky, Clark Square Neighborhood Initiative, Midge Fuller. Hello, Lair. Excuse me if I'm pronouncing your names wrong. Holly Roop or Rupp. Thank you, and keep saying hello, folks, so you know so that we know that you're with us. All right, we're gonna go ahead and enter into our fourth question. The sequence for answers is Mr. Saldivar Frias, Mr. Zepnik, Mr. Martinez, Ms. King. And this question is about racial justice. So I'm going to put it in the private chat so you see it. How will you ensure racial justice at the county level?
I think first and foremost, understanding who are the victims of racial inequity. And when I think as my experience as a Mexican American, my first language is Spanish. So growing up, people target you because you speak a certain way, or you look a certain way. I think we have to create spaces and make people feel included in whatever it is that we're doing, whether it's our parks, our zoo, our public facilities. Really create a culture that's inclusive and inviting. And also, there's a lot of people, at least being a first generation Mexican American in my family, that are undocumented. How do we make sure not to forget about those people that are just kind of put aside because of their status, immigration status? Those people as well, whether we like it or not, live here and are part of our community. So that and really making people aware of just certain things that people do sometimes that are like involuntary, maybe, that make people feel uncomfortable, certain comments and things like that. So it goes back to the social skill and soft skill development piece that I mentioned. How do we train people within the county to be a little bit more aware of sometimes of these behaviors that are inadvertent, but that are important for people. And also being, as a county, investing in certain areas of the city that are high levels of unemployment, or that young people and old people alike are kind of forgotten about, because the people in the middle, the people that are healthy and vibrant and working, right? When you're working, you don't care about other people. You're worried and locked in on yourself. So I think all those aspects of inclusivity and being aware of how to properly.
Thank you, Mr. Saldivar. Next, we have Mr. Zepnik.
So the previous county executive, Chris Abley, and the current county executive, David Crawley, both I've worked with on a number of initiatives over many years in public policy. They have implemented in county government a racial equity initiative that makes sure that everything that the county government does is viewed through the lens of how things would be impacted for racial equity. And it involves setting expectations for various programs and departments and individual behavior. How people treat each other is very important in all this, of course. And then once you set those expectations, you have to have a mechanism to measure things. You need a measurement system to make sure that you're meeting certain targets, to make sure that you're getting the right feedback from the right stakeholders in the community. And then a level of accountability, going back and making sure that, when you don't reach that measurement stick, how can you find ways to rectify it and improve things? I think that when people realize that, of all the things that the county does, and the diversity of the entire Milwaukee County area, that we're all in it together at the end of the day, no matter who you are, where you come from, or how you got here. We all share a lot of common values, and we all want a lot of the same things to happen, and people need to work together and to be held accountable for that.
Thank you. Mr. Martinez?
We start to dismantle racism when we start to obliterate classism. It's very important that here in the district that's made up of primarily working class people, we need to understand that the county, the district has many undocumented people, and there is dignity and there is respect in their labor. And again, like I said before, it doesn't matter if they're working or not. Their worth should not be determined on what they are giving to the economy. They deserve respect and they deserve labor. We also need to realize that African-American Black folk have not had the same reality that other people have had. They have been treated far differently by the economic system, by the police system, by everything that's been happening in America since they were first brought here. What's going to happen here is that I have a plan to start a stewardship where whoever is involved in certain neighborhoods and speak to each other, and then they can speak to me, and we can have monthly town halls where I listen to what they want. And it doesn't matter if you're right, if you're left, if you're Trumpist, if you're Trumper, you're a socialist, whatever it is, everybody's got a right to speak and everybody's got a right to be heard as a citizen of their district. And it is important that they have that ability to speak their truth to what is going on in their surrounding area. That's where I come in. I come in as an organizer, and I come in and I listen. And I say, this is what we can do, this is what we can't do. But it's important that you all speak to each other and we all listen to each other. Disrespect will not be tolerated, of course, but it's always important that we all keep speaking to each other. That's what's going to happen at the county level. I am going to encourage everybody to speak to each other and to come together so we can all make the district a better place together. Not as a politician myself, because I'm not really a politician. I've been a worker my entire life. And I want to listen to workers, and I want to listen to everybody of every color, of every walk of life in this district so we can make it better.
Thank you. Ms. King?
Well, I really believe that how do we make things equal or justifiable for all people on a county level? I think that one of the major things that we have to do is we have to take out and stop asking racial questions, first of all, on applications. We still have that ethnicity question. Why do we have that? At the county level, I believe that we have to come together as a group, and we have to brainstorm and come up with solutions to the issues and the problems that we face as a people. No matter what, our racial backgrounds are, we have to begin to, come together on common ground, because at the end of the day, we're all really just one race. We're the human race. So once we begin to understand that and we come up with solutions, when we help one group or two groups or three groups, we're actually helping the whole human race. So the solution to the problem at the county level is for us to alleviate those things that have been a hindrance in the past and still is a hindrance. I think that we should invest in the heavily crimed areas to bring knowledge so that people, we don't want to give out a handout, but we do want to give a hand up so we can alleviate the ignorance that's in these areas and in these communities. And it's going to take all of us to do that. So we can start on the county level, but it has to spread out. Citywide, statewide, and countywide, we have to address these issues. So when we address these issues of inequalities for one group or two groups or three groups or for all groups, we're doing it for all of ourselves. We have to remove the barriers that are there so we all can come up together. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, folks, We have time for another question, so I'm excited about that. We'll have question number 5. The sequence will go Zepnik, Martinez, King, Saldivar, Frias. It's a question about the budget. What would you do? What would you protect and what would you change about the county budget and why? What would you protect and what would you change about the county budget and why? Starting with Mr. Zepnik.
Well, that's not exactly a 2-minute answer, but I'll do the best I can. Some of it I've already mentioned. I mean, we are in a very tight financial crisis right now in Milwaukee County government. Part of why I'm running is because of my background and experience working with the state legislature. It's something that everything that we're going to need to do to fix our finances is going to involve some level of state government approval. We need to, the state has mandated services that we must provide at the county level, but they're not providing enough funding. And so we need to find some sort of solution to that. And ideally, especially when it comes to things like core services, health and human services, programs like family care for seniors and low-income folks who happen to be disabled. We need to come to a new agreement and a new partnership with state government on that. I believe in having a 1 penny sales tax option that could also be helpful in terms of funding property tax relief, as well as things like our quality of life amenities, parks, and transit. And so I guess what I would change is that I would change the way we are currently in configuration with state government. We need to have a new partnership because what we have right now, the status quo, cannot continue. We will have other obligations, pensions, deferred maintenance, things like emergency urgent costs, overwhelming the budget to the point where we can't provide for other things like our parks, culture institutions, public transit, all things that I would like to see have more money to do more innovative and creative things. Comes to transit, personally, I would like us to get to a point where we don't charge fares. You see this happening in other cities across the United States. The pandemic dropped ridership on public transit. We need to rebuild our ridership.
Thank you. Mr. Martinez.
I think what's very important to note here is that what would a sales tax do to the people of the county is kind of, I feel, is kind of regressive. I feel like a wealth tax or property tax would actually do something that would actually benefit the county, if that's going to be one of the things. Another thing is that we can ask the state for more money, and it's hasn't been too lucky. We haven't been too lucky in the county in getting money and getting funds from the state. So I think there's definitely different ways to go about protecting the budget and getting creative with how we're going to spend it. And I definitely feel that a 25% reallocation of the sheriff's budget, the sheriff's department, is definitely realistic, and that can go into very underfunded programs, equitable transit, of course, working with things that really attack the source of crime, quote unquote, or crime at the root. When we reallocate those funds, we reallocate them for mutual aid. We reallocate them for mental health services. We reallocate them for affordable housing. We reallocate them for many other things. But it's very important that we let everybody know what the funds are being used for, because unfortunately the sheriff's department hasn't been very transparent about its spending. Nobody knows how those dollars are being spent. So it's very important that us as a county reallocates those funds and puts them exactly where they need to be in order to make the district thrive. We're going to actually fix things by pushing forward the services that the people of the district need, and that's how we're going to come out ahead and really make everything work here.
Thank you. Ms. King?
Well, the things that I would protect, I would protect safety. We still need to work with our sheriff's department, our police department, working together. I think causing them to work in conjunction with one another. I don't know exactly at this point how that would come about, but I know that the county works closely with the sheriff department and the budget and all of that. But I believe that these two entities should work together so that we can actually be safer as a county. And I would protect that. I would protect the police, the sheriff budget. Also, I agree with Mr. Martinez with being more transparent with the sheriff department and where the money goes. I would change some of where the money goes. I think that we should allocate funding to the youth programs that would, instead of a youth speeding through the city, that give them something to do after they get out of school, and so that they're not out here doing negative things. I think to give more knowledge and more education about what they should be doing, investing in our youth, because as we look at them, they're the future. They're the ones that's going to be watching out for us as time goes on. So I believe that we should allocate money also in those areas where we're experiencing a lot of crime. That's the one thing that I would change.
Thank you. Mr. Saldivar Frias.
I think first and foremost, it's important that we fight for referendums, for reforms of referendums put on our ballots, so that we demand the Wisconsin state legislator give us more of our money back. They're taking about $3 billion and they're giving us back somewhere around $800 million back. Like, where is all this money going? And asking, when we talk about transparency, like, where's our money going and what's our return on investment? Why should we continue this? This is a toxic relationship that we have going on. And then when we get those monies back, I think we have to put it into public safety, repairing our roads, hampering down on crazy driving, revitalizing our buses and our bus stops, improving public transit in general, and then also public health social services, right? Department of Aging, helping our older citizens stay in their homes, behavioral and mental health, like alcohol and drug abuse, Department of Youth and Family Services, like the wraparound program that I was a crisis stabilizer. How do we bolster these ideas so that we get the most out of our youth? You mentioned our youth are our future. If we don't invest in them now, it's going to be too late. Years from today, decades from today, we're going to be like, what happened? What didn't we do when we had the time to do it? Why didn't we do it? So that's one thing that I'm very passionate about. And if we have to, if the state doesn't want to budge, then a sales tax, at least 0.5%. That's $5 for every $1,000. It's $50 for every $10,000 that you buy. So I think that's the least we can do, because we're all going to benefit from the better roads, from the better facilities in our county. We got to get with it. We got to be proud of our city and the resources that we have. If we're not proud of it, who will? If we're not proud of where we live, and if we don't fight for our city and our county, who the heck will if we don't?
Thank you. Now, before we move to our closing remarks from the candidates, I want to catch those folks I didn't get to say hello to previously, and I know I missed a couple here. Give me a second. I said hello to Midge, but she posted that Jim and Midge Layer are with us. So hello. Let me go here. Give me a second. Nuroz Sheikh. Please forgive me if I pronounce your names wrong. Lloyd Flowers. Ryan Clancy. Camila or Cam F. Vila. Hello, Camila. All right, folks. So those are the hellos, and I'm going to pass it to Juan, who will introduce the next segment and announce the sequence.
Yep. Hi, everybody again. We will now start the candidate closings. Each candidate will have 1 minute. We will start with Mr. Martinez.
Am I on? Sorry. Thank you very much. For my closing statement, I want to say that it's very important that we work together to make this a very progressive district. And what I mean by progressive is not like certain words that are kind of thrown at you to make you scared of what it is. This is everybody working together. I don't care if you're right, if you're left, whatever you are. It's important that you all have a voice and that because we all have more in common than what the parties want us to believe that we have. We are here to make something happen, and every voice should be heard. And it's time that everybody respects each other and everybody can actually move forward and doing something good here in the district. And regressive policies are not going to work. Policies that tax lower income people are not going to work. What's going to work is everybody coming together, workers coming together and making it known that this is our home and this is where we should have a say in what happens.
Next, we will have Ms. King.
I want to say thank you all, SOC, for having us on to actually speak to the people. I'm a go-getter. I'm tenacious. I do believe that the people should have a voice, and that's why I'm in this race. I would like to see us come together, and as I forestated, it's really only one race, and that's the human race. And we should come together and build our city. We have to come together with solutions, not just talking heads to get elected, and then we go off and forget about why we are running in this race right now. So to win, so that the people, thank you again.
Stacy, let me interject. And it looks like we had a technical difficulty and Miss King's last sentence was cut off. Can we bring her back on just to repeat that last sentence?
Oh, Lord.
Sorry, Miss King, it was cutting off. So I just want to the last sentence or two you said we weren't able to hear.
I just said I'm in this race. I believe in we the people, and I would like to see the people have a voice, and I would be that voice for the people. And thank you all again for having us on.
Next, we will have Mr. Saldivar Frias.
I think we have to be, the person that's going to fill this seat has got to be passionate about people, about bringing people together, about understanding why people are living the way they are. And first and foremost, and we need people to be accountable for their behaviors, for how they live within society. We all have a social contract with one another, whether it's we're driving on the same roads, we're going we're using the same public facilities, parks, our zoo, our museums. So it's important that we understand that first and foremost. The person that's going to fill this seat can't just be lukewarm or just be a talker, a good talker, but he or she should also be willing to walk the walk, to speak truth to power, and to, like I said, first and the most important, be passionate about people and relationships between people, and listen to people, because anybody can talk a good game, but the best of people are those that can listen to people, that can sit down and let other people find solutions, because we have strengths. We have strength in numbers. We have people that have certain strengths, and there's people that have certain weaknesses. Let's tap those resources.
Thank you.
Lastly, we will have Mr. Zepnik.
Well, thank you again for everybody participating tonight. I've mentioned a lot about my previous experience in public service being something that I'm proud of, and that I think could make a big contribution to being an effective county supervisor and voice for our area and county government, given the challenges that are facing the county right now, especially. It was mentioned that we haven't had great success in getting more money from the state, yet the relationship with the county and the state is one where we have no choice but to keep trying to get more of that money. I've been there, done that, and you try, and sometimes you don't succeed. A lot of it has to do with partisan politics in Madison, but we can't give up on that. And I look forward to being able to roll up my sleeves and do the hard work that is necessary to make sure we have high quality public services and we have taxes that people can afford.
Thank you. Folks, I'm going to say hello to the last couple of viewers. Dave Summerscale, Shalina Harvey. Thank you for being with us. And we're almost at the end here. I really appreciate all the folks who've been involved. So again, thank you to our neighbors, residents of District 12 for being with us. I hope you were able to get to know the candidates a little better and help you with your decision that's coming up soon. Thank you to the SOC team again, our youth, for digging in with us, our staff, and then also thank you to the candidates for participating and cooperating with the process. And know it's not easy to have such a short time, but we know that folks will only hang in for so much, right? And we hope that you were able to express who you are, what you believe in, what you're going to do for residents to make a decision. And again, I just want to remind folks that where our questions came from. We asked residents of District 12 to submit questions. And then if they submitted questions, we verified on our system, of course, that they were from the district. And then we pulled out themes from that. When we fell a little shorter on themes, we went back to the last County Supervisor Candidates Forum that we did. So I want to thank you all for being with us. Ask you to get more involved with SOC. You can contact us at 414-672-8090. Again, 414-672-8090 with your concerns or your dreams. We want to come alongside you. And you can also email us at soc@socmilwaukee.org. We're not yet able to receive folks at the office because of the pandemic, but we are out in the community and we can connect with you in all kinds of ways. So that concludes my part. I'm going to hand it over for announcements, and then Juan's going to close us out for the evening.
As a reminder, in the comments, there is a $50 door prize for one County Supervisor District 12 resident who fills out the survey. The person selected from entries will be chosen tomorrow, Thursday, February 10th, live on Facebook. So please like our Facebook page.
Other announcement. Now, folks, we have SOC has a long tradition of doing these candidate forums, but we also started a new tradition during the pandemic to do vote-a-thons. So we do a 3-time check-in during the primaries. So on Tuesday, February 15th, you can check into our Facebook for breakfast, lunch, or dinner and get information about voting. So you can be with us at 8. Jonatan Zuniga from the Election Commission, the deputy there, is going to be with us to answer questions, to share information again, because we know it gets confusing sometimes on those days. So at 8 for breakfast, at 12 for lunch, at 7 for dinner, be with us for the latest reminders and voting information. And then, Juan, I will give it back to you.
Again, thank you to all our Southside residents for your joining us today and for all you do. And thanks again to the candidates for County Supervisor District 12, and have a good evening.
Has this live forum been informative and useful to you? What part of the forum could be improved or changed to make it better? Please take our quick survey that's located in our comments section so that we can get your feedback on how to keep this live forum going for residents. Thanks for tuning in.